This is The Evening Buzz, presented by Mikail Atiyeh.
When it comes to the streaming wars, we talk about how Netflix and Amazon and Apple TV Plus are constantly looking to compete against one another. And the way they do it, it's all about the content and the exclusivity of it, right? So Netflix has to constantly pump in new movies and shows to attract viewership. And the same goes for Apple TV Plus and Amazon and all these other streaming competitors, because that's how they retain their subscribers. And Amazon has been somewhat in the middle where, they've been acquiring studios and production houses, especially, for example, MGM, and also putting a lot of money into some high budget shows. The first one that came out a while back was Wheel of Time, which is apparently based on a very popular fantasy book series that the fans vouch is perhaps one of the best ones out there, comparing it to even Lord of the Rings. And to be honest, it was that word of mouth that made me watch that show. And I went through that first season myself, and I gotta say, did not pull me in at all. I found Wheel of Time to be shallow. I'm soulless. It's supposed to be great, but, when you step into it, it's kind of forgettable. And that's a shame. I'm sure the book version is a lot better, but I couldn't get hooked in. And so now 3 seasons in, it seems that Amazon is pulling the plug on one of their high-budget fantasy series, and they're basically canceling Wheel of Time. And to be honest, it's not like it's for me personally, I'm kind of relieved, because the direction of how they adapted Wheel of Time feels very poor. It seemed to detract a lot far from what the books were. And I remember there were so many complaints by the fans with how they presented the world, how they wrote the characters, and just the execution was very off. And because of this, I feel like gradually with every season that come out, the viewership kept declining. And of course, Amazon looks at this and they just notice that there's no point putting more money into this. So Amazon's decision to cancel the Wheel of Time was not taken lightly. According to reports, the show's 3rd season was well received, even managing to win back some fans who had criticized earlier seasons for diverging too much from the original books. However, despite the creative rebound, the show's overall performance was ultimately not strong enough to justify its steep costs. So, Prime Video, alongside with co-producer Sony Pictures TV, concluded that the numbers didn't work out after extensive discussions and basically said, you know what, we are going to cut our losses and basically cancel it. And the fact that now the Wheel of Time was ultimately canceled despite the improved reception, it's all about the viewership. Amazon appears to be shifting toward more financially disciplined approach to its streaming content, especially for high-risk, high-cost projects like fantasy shows. And makes me wonder what's going to happen with the other high-budget fantasy show that is The Rings of Power. Now, 2 seasons in, to be honest, it's not good. Fans of Lord of the Rings are not enjoying it. I personally haven't enjoyed it. I went through those first 2 seasons, and I ultimately concluded that it's nothing more than a poorly written piece of fan fiction. That's how I see it. And I get the feeling, and what's happened, by the way, from the 1st season to the 2nd season, viewership has just been declining. There's less viewers on the 2nd season than the 1st, and I wouldn't be surprised if by the 3rd season, it gets even less views. I think Rings of Power might just survive long enough for them to produce the 3rd season, but if it doesn't bring in the numbers, Amazon will cancel it. To be honest, I'm okay with that. I did not like Rings of Power. I will watch season 3. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. Any adaptation that comes out, I will watch, but I will watch it with critical eyes, especially because this is a very near and dear franchise to me. And even though they don't seem to respect Tolkien's literary work, even though they don't want to adapt it properly, they take creative changes, I will watch it. And if it does get canceled, which I think it will, I'm okay with that. I'm sorry for all the fans of Wheel of Time who may have actually enjoyed the show, but maybe at the same time may have been disappointed with how it was adapted, and that it's going to be a very long time, perhaps until there's another reiteration, a reboot, or a new adaptation for that franchise. But it seems that Amazon's high-budget fantasy projects is going to be slowly chiming down, and perhaps it's for the better. This is what happens when you bring in executives and showrunners who are really just completely out of touch with what fans want from franchises and how to adapt them properly. They think it's okay to step in and put new ideas. It's fine. But if you're gonna change things from the original source material, those changes need to justify their presence. And when they don't, you've basically failed. And I think this is what really happened with Wheel of Time. Tell me what you think. What are some poorly directed, poorly made adaptations that you have watched, that you were a fan of, that has really just hurt your feelings in a way that you wish could have had been treated better? And if you are a fan of Wheel of Time, tell me what's your personal thoughts and opinion of the show. I know I didn't like that season 1, but I hear from the fans who were so passionate saying that the books are amazing. So I think maybe eventually I'll explore the book instead of having to continue the show, because it's getting canceled anyway, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, let's take a short break, and we'll be right back with more news and highlights from the world of entertainment. So stay locked right here to the Evening Buzz.